So, Dirk, let's go with the elephant in the room about what's happening now with Dirk Koetter. And as I speak to you, you're in Atlanta, where we all read that you won't be a part of the coaching staff with Arthur Smith moving forward. So, what's the latest on what your coaching career now looks like going forward?
Yeah, well, when you look back at it and you say it like that, I mean, the main thing is my coaching career was long. It's been 39 years. In fact, I've been telling people 38 years, and then I actually sat down and put it to paper and started back in 1982 at Highland High School, and it actually adds up to 39 seasons as a coach,
Mm-hmm.
high school, Division two, college at every level, and NFL. And right now, I just don't know what's next. But this was a crazy season for everybody involved with all the COVID ramifications. And there's just a lot of change going on. There's a big youth movement going on in the NFL right now, which is fine. And I just don't know what's next. But for right now, I'm just looking forward to whatever is next. And I know it's going to include moving back to Idaho, moving back to Boise, and a lot more time with family and a lot more time in McCall.
Yeah. So, another wave of attention came when Andy Avalos took the Boise State job, and he somehow brought up that, Dirk, it's great that you're moving to Boise. And this is his introductory press conference, right? This is a big moment. And he said, you need to bring your whistle. And I don't think everybody that's watching or listening to this would understand that the home that you're building, I don't know, you're going to be able to hear Albertson Stadium from your home, I bet, right?
Well, maybe I could hear it when they pack that thing with 32,000, and it gets back to that and it gets nice and loud. I'll definitely be able to see the lights.
Yeah. So, but he's talking about it at that point, and some guys want to run with that. Oh, he's going to be coaching at Boise State. I'm like, wow, man. You had a job with Atlanta at that time, but how do you come to terms with where you are with your professional life? Just as looking at that in that manner, you look back, you can look forward, and just be open. Or how do you do this?
Oh, I don't really know how, because I've never done it. This is the first time I've ever been in this situation. So I don't really know. And back to Andy for a quick second. I mean, I am so fired up about it's so cool to see a former player, and it's the second former player because Harsh was as well.
Right.
But to see a former player get to come back and live out his dreams as being the head coach of Boise State, that is so cool for him. And excuse me, I've been following his hires, and he's obviously added several other former Broncos to his coaching staff. And I just think that is, you as a former Bronco understand as well as anybody. That's just a cool thing, and that makes it easy to sell the program. So I'm fired up for Andy, and I just told him when I talked to him that I hoped he'd let me through that gate and let me watch practice once in a while.
Well, yeah. I mean, it hasn't been that long. You can't be jonesing to, watch practices and cut up film. What would you at this point be doing? Right, the combine's been changed. So, what is the NFL cycle currently with pandemic NFL?
Yeah, everybody's pretty much everybody I think is working remotely. I know there's a couple of new staffs that have already gone to work, but you're evaluating your own roster. That's where it starts, evaluating your own roster. Then you start evaluating free agents, and then soon after that you get into the college draft evaluation and evaluating college players. And really a lot of that stuff can be done remotely. I mean, the technology now with the video and everything, you really can do a lot of it remotely.
You look back on the experience, Dirk, that you just had with Atlanta. It's rare that a coach gets to come back. One of the constants is the owner was there and the quarterback, and so you and receivers and some things. So, what now, as you look back on this experience in Atlanta, did you take away from it with, part two?
Well, I was with two different head coaches, Mike Smith the first go round, and then Dan Quinn the second go round. And it's just unfortunate. This season we were a team that unfortunately we underachieved. I saw that we were 4-12, and I saw a stat that we had the lead in the fourth quarter in 11 out of 16 games. I mean, we just were a team that couldn't hold a lead and couldn't find a way to finish out games in the win column. column. Uh, I've said many times, I mean, the greatest thing about coaching is being around the players. And Atlanta, on for sure, on both sides of the ball, but on the guys that I dealt with every day, guys like Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Jake Matthews. I mean, I had such a good time being around those guys. That's one of the things that was kind of messed up about this whole COVID thing. The players weren't hardly ever in the building. I mean, really the only time you saw the players was at practice and on game day. And it was just really strange that way. But, just the main takeaway is it's a player-driven league. And, the players is what makes everything go. Being around them is the greatest when you're not around them. I mean, sitting in your office watching film all day, that's not the most exciting job in the world.
Yeah, well, and everybody thinks that they can sit around and watch film, and we all follow on the outside what people say or think or feel about what the Atlanta Falcons offense should have looked like and ultimately what it was. And you just talked about the fourth quarter. And now you're a little bit removed from it, Dirk, but when you see what people think the offense should be or shouldn't be, how many of those kinds of conversations are also taking place with your quarterback or your head coach, in those moments? Fans have their ideas or media, but you guys have the ways that you look at input. How can you fill us in on this?
Well, I mean, obviously we have access to all the data and all the video. And, our biggest problem on offense this year is we couldn't score touchdowns in the red zone. And, with part of that, our kicker became an all-pro. I mean, our kicker made over 30 field goals, but we just traded too many 3-pointers for 7-pointers. And there was another stat out there. I think we had the 5th highest outscore our opponents in the league in the first half and the 5th lowest in the second half. And that all added up to losing a bunch of games that we needed to win. So, what's the secret sauce to scoring touchdowns in the red zone? If you knew the answer to that, you'd fix it right away. And yeah, I mean, everybody out there, there's so many second guessers, so many armchair quarterbacks, and that's just comes with the territory. And again, it's sometimes those fixes aren't as easy as they seem.
So, Dirk, let me ask you this about your career. Having worked with you when you were at Boise State, which some people think you were there forever, a couple of seasons, not necessarily true, but it was your first head coaching job, and then you ultimately get to the NFL, if I'm not mistaken, at the age of 48, right? Sound about right?
Probably somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, and those of us that are around you are like, he's an NFL guy. He's an NFL guy. He's ultimately going to be there at X's and O's, Jimmy's and Joe's, and that's the way it is. Do you look at your career that way, or did you want to max out at ASU and had that worked and moved on to whatever other job, or did you just always go with the opportunities as they were presented, never had this grand plan to spend 14 years in the NFL?
Yeah, no, never. I never thought at all. Heck, I wanted to be my dad. I wanted to be the coach at Highland High School. And I was fortunate enough to do that. And when you're in a job, and I tell young coaches this all the time, all you should be doing is trying to do a great job in the job you're at. And, I was, when I look back at that, 1982 as an assistant, 1983, 1984 as a head high school coach, those were some of the best times of my life. I mean, in a lot of respects, I'd love to go back there. And then, once you start on the college journey, and I go back 1985, San Francisco State, 3-man coaching staff, the late Vic Rowan, Andy Reid, and myself. And then, we had various part-time guys that are coaching. One of those part-time guys is Andy Reid's tight end coach with the Chiefs today. Once you start in college and you start moving and your family's moving, the other thing that's changed so much is the money. I mean, the money has really grown in college football and pro football. So, no, I just always tried to do, the best I could do at the place that I was at, and had other chances to go to the NFL earlier. But once I became a head coach from the Boise State days on, when you talk about leaving to go to the NFL, well, you got a whole staff of people and their families that are
Right.
behind the scenes, and they're doing a lot of work, just as much as I am. And so, when the head coach goes, usually the staff is gone too. So I was never thinking of it that way. And when I left Arizona State, I had really good options to stay in college. It was actually my wife that pushed me to give the NFL a try.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, she was strong behind. Let's see what that's like. And the NFL is awesome, because you do have more family time in the off season because there isn't year-round recruiting like there is now. But it's just always be where your feet are.
Dirk, you talked about something there about talking to young coaches, and I've spoke to some guys that are on that tree, and we're all tracking how great Boise State football has been since you took over from Houston Nutt and all the succession plans that have come after that with coaches. And a couple of them had told me something about you. I want to ask you and see how you have talked about other coaches with this. Because, again, we see you as a very strong-minded dude, A, plus B equals C, and all of this very linear, hardcore, well-thought-out process. And other coaches have told me that dude knows how to admit a mistake, deal with it, and move on. And some coaches, I'm sure, struggle with that and how to handle that. Have you dealt with that yourself and come to master that and have talked to other people about it? Or how would you characterize your ability to deal with mistakes, per se?
Well, I mean, football is not a game of perfect. I mean, nobody plays a perfect game. Nobody plays a perfect game, and nobody coaches a perfect game. It's never going to happen. And, Bill Parcells said way back that Mondays in the NFL is blame day. It's either blame day or credit day. If you lose, it's who gets the blame. If you win, it's who gets the credit. And there is blame because there's fault on almost every play and almost every game. There's a lot of it. And I just think as a coach, it's real important that the higher you are up the totem pole, the more you accept your responsibility and your blame, because we're all making mistakes out there. And the whether it be the announcers, whether it be the fans, people are always pointing out the faults. This guy should have made this play, or he dropped this pass, or he threw this interception. Interceptions is a great example of it. Is the quarterback always gets credit for interceptions, but there's many interceptions that aren't the quarterback's fault. And so I just learned, that it's okay. It's okay for a coach to say, hey, I screwed that up. And the players definitely respect that because, as a coach, you want your players to admit their mistakes and learn from them and move on. And coaching should be no different than that.
So, Dirk, now that you're relocating to Boise, I was analyzing your moves and thought, I don't know, Dirk, you could have property in Jacksonville, Tampa, Atlanta. I know McCall and now Boise. So you may be spending 3 months, 4 months, however this is going to. How did you package all this in terms of where you were going to spend the majority of your time?
Yeah, that was when Kim and I you start looking at it, when you get up there in age a little bit more, you start looking at where are we going to end up? Because once you start moving around, I'm really jealous of my friends that have lived in the same house and have friends that they've been around for 30 years. And, we just don't have that. I mean, we have a few friends in every place we've ever lived, but at some point in your life, you got to decide where are we going to end up. And, we kicked a lot of things around, and at the end of the day, it was just, we fell in love with McCall years ago. And I've always been jealous of my friends that could be up and down that hill in 2 hours and be back home, and just the ease and what a cool place Boise is to live, being able to, all the things you can do, a great airport, a very progressive place, the outdoor stuff, close to my family in Pocatello. I have family in Boise, and, some of our best friends in the world live in Boise. We just decided that would be the best place to end up long term.
That was, I thought, an interesting, opportunity for you to really look at the advantages of meeting friends along the way. And then now maybe you're recognizing close to your family in Pocatello, brother in Boise, other family, and now we're seeing, even, your son may be there, right? And how much all this plays into it, because you've been unavailable for your kids' fall activities your whole career, right? Is this a part of it too?
Yeah, really excited about that. Now, when we started down this process, Davis, our youngest son, was attending Portland State, and then he entered the transfer portal. He was all set to go to Missouri. So we were looking forward to, that's another place we used to live. And
That's right.
two of our kids were born in Columbia, Missouri. So we were looking forward to that once Andy Avalos took over, and Davis had the opportunity to go back to Boise State. That's just a bonus. Like, regardless, Davis has 2 years left to play, and I'm really excited about being able to go to his games and just watch like every other parent does. And I've only got to see 2 of his college games in 3 years live, and just really looking forward to that.
Is there anything else on your list, Dirk, that you want to cross off? You're a goal-driven guy, so do you ever think about, you don't mind talking about the game, or you don't want to be that guy? I've talked to other guys like, no, I don't want to. No, I'd rather play golf and then blank.
Yeah, I don't really know. I think I probably will talk about the game some. In what mode that presents itself, I don't know yet. I just had a conversation with Chris Peterson about this yesterday, and Pete, and I love talking to Pete, and Pete's got tons of irons in the fire right now. But I really don't know. I just really don't know what's next. But just take it as it comes, and we'll be fine.
Well, man, thank you so much. A lot of people, I'm sure, wish you nothing but the best here and whatever happens. But sooner or later, they'll find you in Boise somewhere. You don't want to give out your address, right? The guy's looking for a beer and a hamburger or something, right?
Yeah, well, we haven't had time to do that very often, so it's going to be great to reconnect with people that we haven't seen, and so many great folks along the way that made all this possible. So, we'll be around, and hopefully have quite a few years left to enjoy it all.